Television is an ever-changing medium, but it's infuriating when the writers flat out abandon major storylines and hope you'll be too forgetful to notice. I'm Gareth from WhatCulture.com, and here are 10 TV plotlines you forgot were completely abandoned. Number 10. Abed's Girlfriends. Community. Community isn't as obsessed with romance as some other sitcoms, but it still allows its characters to date when appropriate. Usually these relationships have clear beginnings and endings, yet any time a love interest for Abed is introduced, it's soon suddenly dropped from the show. The first instance of that was in season 2, when Abed sparks a romance with Secret Service agent Volas. Yet Volas is never mentioned again after this episode. The same thing happens in season 4, when Abed meets a girl named Rachel, played by Brie Larson, at a school dance. They're insanely perfect together, but that's the only time she appears that year. This is rectified in season 5 when Rachel actually becomes a recurring character. Then in season 6, Rachel completely disappears again. It's not like she and Abed even broke up. Her storyline is just abandoned. Of course, Community lampoons this in a typical Community way. By having Abed ask the question, the audience is also asking, what happened to that girl I was dating? What happened to her indeed? Number 9. Mandy, Ainsley, and Sam's Campaign. The West Wing. The West Wing abandoned storylines so often that fans actually coined a term for it. When a character suddenly disappeared off the series, it was said that they went to Mandyville. This is named after Mandy Hampton, a main character in the first season. She slowly appears less and less frequently, and by season 2, she's officially gone with no goodbye whatsoever. There was also Ainsley Hayes. By the end of season 3, Ainsley had also vanished to Mandyville. She does at least return briefly during season 7 to apply for a job, but nobody mentions where the hell she's been for all these years. Then of course there's Sam. When Rob Lowe left the series, Sam was going to California for a congressional campaign. Did he win? Did he lose? You'll never know. Is everybody on this series constantly being flashed with those Men in Black neuralizers or something? It's madness. Number 8. Andrea, News Radio. There was supposedly always a feud between the network and the writers when it came to News Radio, with the former wanting long story arcs and the latter wanting standalone episodes. That tension becomes clear during all the occasions when the show introduces major plot points, seemingly at the network's insistence, only for the writers to say screw it and drop them later on. In just one example, in season 4, Lauren Graham plays an efficiency expert named Andrea, brought in by the station to shake things up a bit. She makes a number of dramatic changes like firing Matthew, demoting Dave, and making Lisa news director. Surely this will have dramatic implications on the remainder of the season. Nope, not really. Due to a combination of the writers not liking stretched out storylines and focus groups not liking the character, Andrea disappeared with no reason given for her departure at all. Not only that, but the majority of those changes she makes are instantly undone. Number 7. Will and Jackie's relationship. The Fresh Prince of Bel-Air. Oh yeah, remember when Tyra Banks was on The Fresh Prince of Bel-Air? Her character Jackie is introduced in the 4th season as one of Will's childhood friends from Philadelphia. At first, Jackie is upset with Will that he didn't stay in touch after leaving for Bel-Air, but she eventually forgives him, and the show then teases that they'll have some sort of romance going forward. This all culminates in the episode You've Got to Be a Football Hero, where Will gets in a drinking contest with a jock in order to impress Jackie, but she gets so fed up with his immaturity that she has Carlton drive her home. That is Jackie's final scene on the show. Yep, none of that stuff with their friendship or relationship is ever resolved, and no character ever really mentions Jackie after this. Jackie leaves in the middle of a fight with Will. Is that not something that should maybe be wrapped up? Nah, I guess not. Number 6. Hannibal and Will survive? Hannibal. As season 3 of the Mads Mikkelsen starring show about everyone's favourite terrifying cannibal by the name of Hannibal Lecter came to a staggering end, ratings for the series were sadly at an all-time low, which all led to Hannibal ultimately being cancelled by NBC shortly after its jaw-dropping finale. Jaw-dropping because this particular season came to an end with the most literal of cliffhangers. After watching Francis Dolarhyde die a bloody death, Will Graham and Lecter share an embrace on a cliffside whilst both dealing dealing with their own fair share of painful damage. Then in a sudden twist, Will hurls the two of them off the side of the cliff and to their assumed inevitable deaths. However, a post-credit scene then revealed that all may not be lost when it comes to the two leading characters, with Bedelia sitting at a table set for 3 and being served up her own leg. But by who? All fingers point to the iconic People Muncher, and perhaps Will also being the final place at that table. Yet with Hannibal now being shelved for the foreseeable future, this intriguing plotline, like the show itself, seems likely to be left unresolved. Number 5. Training an Army. Lost. For the most part, Lost resolved a lot more than people give it credit for. But here's one storyline from early on that just kind of disappeared within a few episodes. In the Season 2 episode, The Hunting Party, the Losties meet the others for the first time in a tense confrontation in the middle of the jungle. They take Kate hostage and warn Jack to stay off their side of the island. Jack is understandably freaked out, and so he takes those fears to Anna Lucia in the final scene. He tells her that he's heard she's a cop and killed one of the others, and then asks how long do you think it would take to train an army. Holy crap, the survivors are gonna step up, grab their weapons and lead a crusade against the others? Nope, that does not happen. Sawyer takes the guns, Anna Lucia dies, and it's never again mentioned that they even had this plan at all. Number 4. The Fuentes Brothers, Dexter. Dexter had a few storylines that were forgotten about throughout the show, which is natural for a series that goes on far past when it should have probably ended. One of these minor plotlines concerns the Fuentes brothers, a pair of killers introduced in the 5th season. Deb shoots and kills one of the brothers, Carlos, the more threatening of the two who gets the most amount of screen time. However, the series makes a point to mention that Marco Fuentes is still out there. A dangerous murderer whose brother was killed by one of the characters is on the loose now? That seems like a clear setup for a future confrontation, right? You can probably see where this is going. After the episode where Carlos is shot, Marco isn't seen or mentioned again. So much for that then. Number 3. Fez and Laurie's marriage. That 70s show. Marriage and divorce are two pretty huge things for characters to go through. Yet in that 70s show, the latter happens completely off screen. At the end of season 5, it's revealed that Fez and Laurie have gotten married. And that obviously becomes important a number of times throughout season 6. Granted, the marriage is only so Fez can stay in the country, but it's still theoretically a vital point. Then in season 6, Laurie vanishes never to be seen again. It was said she was in Canada, so that's at least an explanation, but what happened to the marriage? Did they get divorced? In the final episode, a character asks, "Speaking of daughters, has anyone seen Laurie?" That gets a huge laugh from the audience, all of whom have probably been wondering for years what the hell happened to her and her marriage to Fez. Number 2. Lister's pregnancy. Red Dwarf. Red Dwarf was a pretty hilarious sci-fi spoof full of absolutely insane plot developments. That was especially true at the end of season 2, when male character Lister is actually impregnated by a female version of himself from an alternate universe. Yep, don't even ask. Supposedly, the writers were going to spend the season 3 premiere tying this up, but the script turned out both unfunny and arguably a little bit sexist, so they dropped that whole idea. Okay, technically the pregnancy storyline is resolved in the end, but it's in a Star Wars style opening crawl which flies by so quickly it's literally impossible to read without freeze framing, something that wasn't exactly easy to do in 1989. The crawl explains that Lister gave birth to twin boys, but they had highly accelerated birth rates and turned 18 within 3 days. Because of that, Lister returns them to their original universe, and that's that. The average viewer would have no way of reading the crawl though, and so for all intents and purposes, the Lister pregnancy arc had no on-screen conclusion at all. Number 1. Jerry and Elaine start dating again. Seinfeld. Seinfeld was always meant to be a show about not much, ignoring serious arcs and relationships for the most part. NBC wasn't always happy with that, and so they were constantly pressuring Larry David and the writers to pair Jerry and Elaine together. David hated that idea, but then in season 2 he came up with the concept that Jerry and Elaine would make a deal to sleep with each other while remaining friends. This happens in The Deal, and that episode concludes with the two deciding to start dating again. That's a significant development, right? Well, funnily enough, the deal was meant to be the finale of season 2, but NBC inexplicably aired the last 4 episodes out of order. As a result, Jerry and Elaine get together, and then the subsequent 3 episodes make absolutely no reference to that since they were filmed prior to these events. The season 3 premiere was the first episode to be made after Jerry and Elaine decided to date, but here Seinfeld and David just decided to drop the storyline altogether, and the couple break up off screen. The writers gave NBC what they wanted for a brief period of time, only to follow it up with a giant middle finger as they got the show back to what they really wanted it to be. Good for them.